This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below. Welcome to History in the Eyes of a Southerner with your host, Anthony Allen. On this channel, we will take a journey through time and relate history to the contemporary eyes of modern America. I hope you enjoy the ride as I investigate and document the wonderful events that have shaped our present world. Alright, y'all, so I am continuing with my series on McCarthyism, propaganda, and cancel culture. And got a few interesting thoughts here. And this is going to sort of play into how Joe McCarthy got to where he got. Let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all think propaganda put on by one group of people or one country or whatever, do you think propaganda, misinformation, can physically cause somebody harm? Stop thinking about this for a minute. I don't like you. Don't know why I don't like you. Maybe I do know why I don't like you. But because I don't like you, I don't want other people to like you either. So I'm going to go out here and I'm going to spread misinformation or half-truths. Maybe not even complete misinformation. What my end goal is it's going to be to sway the way people feel in one way or another. Maybe I'm successful. Maybe I'm not. Some of the propaganda in this country started, and I've mentioned this on the first video, but right about now, you should see a picture of a painting pop up on your screen. This picture really started a lot of the anti-Indian, anti-Native American, anti-indigenous people, whatever the politically correct term is, in this country. From this image and the rumors that started from it, which the rumors that started from it was that General John Burgoyne, who was a British general, during the Revolutionary War, used Native American scouts to help guide him down through upstate New York. And on his march from Lake Champlain to the Hudson River, the wife of one of his officers was killed. All of a sudden, folklore and rumors and half-truths spread that she was killed by the head of one of his Indian scouts. Now, if one of Burgoyne's own Indian scouts are going to do that to the wife of one of his officers, what are they going to do to your family, your farms, your homes? What do they have in store for you? Oh, shit. Now, all of a sudden, we have the militia from New York turning out in droves, coming to shoot the hell out of the redcoats. Just from that little piece of propaganda, they're stirring the Indians up against us. Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. I haven't really looked that much into it, but I do know that that was one piece of propaganda. Now, here's the thing about propaganda. Not all propaganda is false. Contrary to popular belief, propaganda doesn't necessarily have to be false to make it propaganda. Actually, the truer the propaganda, the easier it is to sell. It kind of goes hand in hand with the old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. The Japanese. Let me take Japanese for example. Japanese Americans suffered something horrible during World War II. Now, we all know that Japan bombed Pearl Harbor December 7th, 1941. We all know this. But what history doesn't get into is what happened during World War II to Japanese American citizens. What happened to Japanese American citizens during World War II was they were rounded up and they were put in concentration camps, basically. Now, let's talk about the Constitution here for a minute. The First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. All of these rights that we are supposed to have bestowed on us by our Creator, the very fabric that keeps this country together, is those Bill of Rights. They are not rights granted to us by government. They are you shall nots that we put on our government. You shall not do this. You shall not do that. You shall not do that. If you do, you're violating your contract with us. Obviously, we have the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble peaceably. Obviously, we have the right against unreasonable searches and seizures. We have the right not to incriminate ourselves. We have a right to have a jury of our peers. We have the right to face our accusers. We have the right not to have unusually high fines or bail. We have the right to not be put in a place to where we will be subjected to cruel and unusual punishment. And we all have due process of law. Every one of these was passed by 1941, 1942, when we started putting these Japanese American citizens in concentration camps. And that's basically what they were. They were nice prisons. And they were under armed guard. I believe by the U.S. military, which if I'm not mistaken, if it was under the U.S. military, it would violate the Posse Comitatus Act. Don't get me started on that. Fast forward a few years, and now we have Joe McCarthy. If you watch my videos in series, this should be number 4. You should have seen by now the McCarthy trials. You've seen Gary Cooper and Ronald Reagan cooperating. You see other actors saying, hey, I want to see what you have. Or, that's none of your business. Or, even members of the military that he questioned, which was his downfall, by the way, but I'll get to that in a later video. I'm pleading the 5th. Oh, you can't take the 5th. He didn't really tell him he couldn't take the 5th, but he definitely did not like him invoking his 5th Amendment rights. The question is, why do we allow people to violate that sacred document? Violate the sacred document that is our U.S. Constitution, our Bill of Rights. That's supposed to be sacred. That's supposed to be, hey, government, you can't touch. The Bill of Rights are supposed to be etched on the same tablet that God gave Moses from the burning bush. I mean, basically, that is how high we hold our fundamental freedoms in this country. We put them on the same pedestal as the 10 Commandments. And they're the 10 Commandments to the government, saying you will not violate these rights. In the name of stopping communism, there were actors that lost everything. Now, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here. I want to get back to the propaganda. What are the kind of propaganda, even going on today, has been pushed in this country? The 1915 movie, Birth of a Nation, was propaganda. Birth of a Nation rebirthed a domestic terrorist organization called the Ku Klux Klan. And it wasn't just a Southern postbellum Reconstruction era thing. It became national, and in some cases international. People were marching down the street in Washington, D.C. wearing white robes, but they were still doing their underhanded terrorist activities. Black people got hurt physically because of this racist propaganda that was put on the big screen in the silent film Birth of a Nation in 1915. Granted, it was going on in the South a lot longer than just since 1915. I mean, it never stopped from the end of the war all the way to sometime in the 1970s. But it wasn't, I would argue that it wasn't a widespread, nationwide I don't want to say epidemic. I'm trying to think of a good word to use here. I don't want to say that it was as widespread nationwide as it was between about 1880 and 1914. Now, enter 1915, oh yeah, it cranked back up. And it got bad nationwide because of that film propaganda. Another piece of propaganda still happens today, and this is a relic of the Cold War that I listen to. Radio Havana, Cuba. Yeah, I listen to the English broadcast. Sorry, my Spanish sucks. I speak Spanish worse than an infant. And I understand it just about as bad. So I do listen to the English broadcast. It comes on shortwave radio, and I still listen to that. And it's full of anti-American, pro-Cuban communist propaganda. And it's all the reasons why America is screwed up. They got some really good music in there as well. I listen for the music. I actually like it. It's kind of cool. But that is a piece of Cold War propaganda that has survived 30 plus years after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Still broadcasting today. Communists had their own propaganda. Capitalism is bad. America is bad. That propaganda, you either followed it, liked it, listened to it, heeded the message, or as I said before in a previous video, you would be killed, graveyard dead. So yes, propaganda can hurt people. Propaganda still goes on today, but I'm gonna do the later years in a later video. This is going to play into the next video. The next video, I will be talking about what propaganda put Joe McCarthy in the position that he was in to, quote, weed out communists. Y'all have a good day. Good morning. History in the Eyes of a Southerner. Your host, Anthony Allen.